Alright, here we go. 2017 was a fucked up year for a lot of different reasons. A movie about emojis was made, my big old boy Chuck Berry died, some other shit happened, but above all that, there were just too many games to play. 2017 was one of the best years in gaming for both players and a lot of developers. Nintendo bounced back after the Wii U, Microsoft released the most powerful console ever created, and Sony was there. Not only that, but some excellent indie studios finally got to dip their toes in the water. But today's about the games particularly, and as I always say, enough flapping, let's get slapping.
Number 10, Resi 7.
I'm not honestly sure why Resi 7 was looked over so much during the Game Awards and just talks of games of the year in general. Alongside me thinking it is a great game, the reviews were above average to awesome. It could be because it was released so early in the year, but there was a re-release in December. Anyway, I personally think it's stinky as all get out, and in a good way. It balances horror and action really well, especially compared to the previous few entries. It starts plenty scary. The intro works to build atmosphere and story, but it doesn't have that much of the conservation, shooting, and puzzle solving that the Resi franchise is known for. But after 1 or 2 hours, it kicks into high gear a bit. People start chasing you, you have to start collecting and conserving health items and bullets. There's even a fucked up boss fight with Jack the Good Boy. You'll be seeing some pretty frogged up stuff that'll spook you not only because it's a creepy monster that you gotta battle, but because the atmosphere is so dense with subtle horror. And that's even after you get the flamethrower and are burning silly flying bugs. That's something that a lot of other games can't really say.
Number 9, Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy.
Crash Bandicoot is back, baby. He had a few slips, a few falls. In fact, I'd say the times he didn't fuck up are the exceptions, but he always gets up with a big doofy smile. The big C-word himself returns with an all-new collection collecting all of his collective successes in the sad contrast of his failures. Yes, Sony claims it to be a port of his first 3 games, but it's really a port of his 3 best games. Nay, his 3 good games. But never mind the depressing state of the franchise up until now, let's talk about that now. The N. Sane Trilogy is an awesome remake of the original 3 Crash games. And even though the 3rd game was always a little bit special, the 1st and 2nd are both as excellent as always. Some might even say better. Their harsh difficulty stands out in today's marketplace, but that shouldn't scare anyone off. What we have here is a collection of platforming's past. Kids today could use a good fucking walloping, what with their Candy Crush and their Overswatch. Old Daddy Crash would be sure to whip them right into shape, whether it be with some brutal platforming, a twig and or belt,
or a stupid fucking motorcycle.
Number 8.
This next game proved the Nintendo Switch wasn't fucking around. It proved the Switch could not only provide hardcore experiences, but that motion controls were here to stay in a good way. That gathering around a TV with a couple of guys and a couple of gals and a couple of fucking fighting sticks wasn't just cool back in the BC, and that now it's even cooler. That game in question?
1-2 switch.
1-2 switch.
1-2 switch.
Then pops everything in it. It's about 3 spurts. Everything looks okay to me. So I place my bucket, and the first thing you do when
1-2 switch.
7. 7. Sess. Number 7, Persona 5.
PP5. I'll be honest, I didn't beat it. I got about 20 hours in and then life got its greedy hooks into me, sidetracking me and sucking all of my time away.
Until there was nothing left.
But I still thought it was a pretty damn good game. One that I definitely want to go back to. Despite all of the shit that I don't like, have never liked, and will never like the turn-based combat and customization, I was still having a pretty geefy time. The world is really fleshed out and there's lots to do. The characters are all funny and likable for
various reasons.
But the music. Let's take a whole paragraph and talk about that. It's just so jazzy, and that's what I'm all about. The battle theme gets the blood pumping with strings and horns, while the chillin' in the overworld theme is mellow, just so right for the chillaxing. It's also smooth and fitting. Definitely shatters my first impression of Purple Nurple 5. I was on the anime trash train, but the soundtrack at least proves otherwise. Also, the boob-to-head ratio is somewhat realistic in most cases, a sure sign that the creators and art designers had at least an ounce of class. Anyway, gameplay's great, story's great, tits make sense, and music's great. The whole package.
Number 6, Metroid: Samus Returns.
Just like Crash, Samus rises from her pit of solitude to once again join the living world. In this remake of Metroid 2, you can swing around, fight some Metroids, a lot of Metroids, shoot a cool ice beam, shoot some other beams, shoot missiles, fight monsters, run pretty fast, hang out with Homer Simpson, run pretty fast,
be near Gandalf, Ninjago, Krusty the Clown, the Powerpuff Girls, Chesty McBadbad, Chewie, Unikitty, Flippy, Slippy, Hippie, and Skippy.
Sonic Mania was an emotional skydive for me. Yeah, I was pretty pumped about it when it was revealed and released, but I guess I wasn't really sure what I was getting into. I'd never played a 2D Sonic game before Mania, but I was still stoked to see what the legendary franchise had in store for me. Unfortunately, this blue little boy pissed me off my plateau of optimism. If there's one thing I can't stand in games, it's fucking your shit, and me boy Sonic here is suffocating from it. Look, here's a little horse dookie right here, and there, and the duty there, it's everywhere. Not to mention the maze-like level design. I was never sure if I was playing a 2D platformer or a Metroidvania as I dizzily scrambled my way through these labyrinths of flashing colors and indiscernible landmarks. But somehow, I made it to the end of the first act, then the end of the zone, then the end of the game, and then I pulled up my pretty lacy bra and jumped right back in. See, this was the dive of my skydive. I started on a pretty tall peak of hype, then I plummeted. Now my parachute expands and I drift through the air, appropriately content. I discovered that the tweets telling me to get good actually had some validity to them. I started memorizing the level layouts piece by piece. I got the hang of Sonic's momentum and style. Around my 4th playthrough, I was shredding each level like a pro. Eventually, I grabbed all the Chaos Emeralds and unlocked Super Sonic, providing for even more fun times. Even after around 25 hours, I still hop in if I've got some time to kill. What started as a messy hunk of shit was revealed to be a good nugget of, well, realistically, probably still just shit. But that's a pretty good shit.
Number 3, A Hat in Time!
As my bones ached, waiting for a certain fat plumber's looming return, A Hat in Time was my go-to gal. A wonderful blend of design philosophies, old and new, it is a stellar example of platformers' continued providing of fun. Let's start with these environments. There's a surprisingly wide variety of locales, 5 in total. Each level is super unique compared to even Mario's recent adventures. There's no grassy plains, no desert, no ice world, and it's simple and easy to explore each one, brilliantly inviting the player to hop, dive, and search in every corner. My favorite of these is probably the final mountaintop world. It's split into these Galaxy-esque segments with an end goal and a unique theme, and surprisingly, exploring is still rewarded despite the level's linear nature. But what's great level design without great gameplay to back it up? Fucking nothing. Luckily, it has some of the most streamlined, fun, and exhilarating platforming mechanics of the past decade. If I had to compare them to anything, I'd say it's the good of Sunshine and the good of Banjo all squeezed together. You got Kazooie's little hover move providing further precision and aim to your jumps, and Mario lends his impeccable dive from Sunshine in 64. Except, you know after you did the dive in Sunshine and Mario do a little and you'd get a fast but short boost in momentum? Well, Hat Girl's got that, but with even more If you time it just right and press dive right as she hits the ground, she'll and go soaring through the stratosphere at impossible speeds. I've done some pretty raunchy tricks using this strategy.
Hits,
level design, and platforming feel designed by game designing veterans. Somehow, Gears for Breakfast made a faithful callback to platformers of old, while stapling Hat in Time as one of the best of all time. I could go on all fucking day, but I guess let's get to number 2.
Also, the music's really good.
And where the fuck's my Switch port? Please, my fucking brick of a PC can barely run it. Hashtag Switch.
Number 2, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Alright, let's be fucking real. Not only am I unoriginal in putting BOTW so high on my list, but I'm a downright semen-encrusted fanboy. This game does so much right for the Zelda franchise that I can't help but see it as a literal deity when it comes to game design. The developers knew that regardless of what they did, people would have eaten their shit like a juicy steak. But that didn't faze them. They rubbed their heads together and went to mental war with themselves, trying to think of some way, any way to improve the Zelda franchise as a whole. They asked themselves, what sucked people into the original Zelda those many years ago? Miyamoto came bursting in the room with a devilish grin spreading across his face. Well, he said, it was probably the motion controls, or maybe it was the dumbed-down RPG elements. After all, we can't have too many Zelda RPGs. In fact, with this new iteration, why don't we make every NPC a fucking toad? Anyway, after bounding, gagging, and stuffing Miyamoto in a closet so he could go ruin some other franchise, the Zelda team's minds finally clicked on their answers. Exploration. Exploration was Zelda's original appeal. Not interesting combat, not motion controls, not sprawling epic stories or messy timelines, but being able to bound around this fantasy world discovering and solving all kinds of mysteries. They thought to themselves, maybe this new form of open-world game design is the perfect outlet for our new explorative Zelda. But they didn't just give Far Cry a Zelda coat of paint, they sought to find ways to improve both this beloved franchise's surmounting issues and the issues of the modern open-world genre as a whole. And in both of these areas, BOTW is an absolute success. Never before has a game world drawn me in more naturally, seducing me to climb this hill or solve that shrine or invade that enemy camp. Because I didn't grow up in the gaming era without internet, this was my first time experiencing a world filled with so many unique, never-spoken-of adventures. I could retell events to my friends and they wouldn't even have known they were possible, and vice versa. Sure, Butts on Tits WoW has its fair share of problems, but they're all beside the point. Any problem I encountered really didn't dishearten me too much. They only made me more excited for a better sequel. Nintendo, make it fucking
Happen.
Oh yeah! Number one!
Here we go, on the wings. You know it's time to raise our sails. It's freedom like you never knew.
What could possibly go wrong?
Also, Mario was pretty good.
Solid
It's a
game.
real solid platform.
game. Solid game.
For real, it is.
Solid game.
A real solid game.
Solid
game. Real good.
I don't know. Odyssey's pretty good, I guess.
Now you just keep telling me this and telling me that. You say what's up with you, I'll never go back. Say there's a lesson you wanna teach. Here I am, baby. Practice what you preach.